Hello students, I welcome you all in this video lecture on chemical kinetics. Chemical kinetics is a very important topic. It's a very important field in the chemical studies. So what do we mean by chemical kinetics? So first of all, let us see what is a chemical reaction. When we talk about a chemical reaction, we are concerned about the conversion of reactant into product. So once you start a chemical reaction, you take the substrate that is your reactant. It can be one reactant, you can have two reactant, and they react together in a certain time. And after some time, what happens? They start converting themselves into product. Now, once they start converting themselves into product, there is rapid depletion in the concentration of reactant because the reactants they are getting converted into product, and because of the same reason the concentration of products start increasing. So there is a time during the chemical reaction when the conversion of reactant into product becomes at the stage of equilibrium, and this is equilibrium which is considered as the completion of reaction. So when do you consider a chemical reaction is complete? When the equilibrium is attained. So what is equilibrium now? So equilibrium can be defined as the stage in a chemical reaction when the conversion of reactant into product becomes equal to the rate of the conversion of product into reactant. So it is the stage in the chemical reaction when the rate of the forward reaction becomes equal to the rate of backward reaction. So in the kinetics, we are much more concerned about the time in which that equilibrium is attained. A similar field of chemical study is the thermodynamics of a chemical reaction. So, in the thermodynamical aspect, we are concerned about whether the reaction will take place at all or not. So, we are concerned about the feasibility of the reaction in a thermodynamics. But when we talk about the kinetics, we are concerned about the rate of the reaction, how fast the reaction proceed, and how quickly the equilibrium is attained. So, if we have two reactions and if we compare the time in which the equilibrium is attained for the two reactions, so the reaction in which equilibrium is attained faster, you consider it as a fast reaction, kinetically more feasible. But for a reaction in which so much time is required to attain equilibrium, we call it a slow reaction. So in that case, the rate of the reaction is very slow. So kinetics is about the rate of the reaction and thermodynamics is about the feasibility of the reaction. So in the kinetics, because we are concerned about the reaction speed, that is the rate of the reaction, how do we measure it? So the simplest method by which we can measure the rate of the reaction is by measuring the change in the concentration with time. So how the concentration are changed with respect to time. So if you see the concentration of a reactant, it constantly decreases with time because with time what is happening, the reactants are getting converted into product. So you will see a constant decline in the rate in the concentration of the reactant with the time, or because you are getting product in a chemical reaction, so there will be a constant increase in the concentration of the product with time. So if you want to measure the rate of the reaction, the speed of the reaction, that we can measure the speed of the reaction with decline in the concentration of reactant with time, or increase in the concentration of product with time. So that is how we can measure the speed of the reaction. Now, what are the factors which affect rate of the reaction? So we have these factors which affect the rate of the reaction as a reactant concentration. Generally, it has been seen that if you take a greater concentration of reactant, it is more and more forced to achieve the equilibrium, and therefore the product formation takes place quickly. So in order to attain the equilibrium, because at the equilibrium you can characterize the equilibrium with a certain concentration of reactant. So if you increase the reactant concentration, equilibrium will be shifted in the forward direction and more product will be formed. Similarly, temperature is another very important factor, and for these are all just common observations, right? It is not necessary that all the reactions they are showing the same pattern. Generally, it has been seen for the temperature also, that if you increase the temperature, in that case what happens, more and more reactant they go for the chemical reaction and more product is formed. That is the case of the endothermic reaction, when there is absorption of energy. So in that case, when you increase the temperature, this will increase the rate of the reaction. And for the exothermic reaction, which are already accompanied by the release of the heat, in that case, if you increase the temperature, the reaction will take place slowly. So for in order to increase the rate of exothermic reaction, you must decrease the temperature. So whether we are increasing or decreasing the temperature, it plays a very important role in the rate of the reaction. Then action of catalyst. So we know that catalyst, they are a type of compound which is present in the chemical reaction in order to enhance the rate of the reaction. So when we talk about the catalyst, we will also discuss this topic in detail in the coming lectures. So when we talk about the catalyst, we are not talking about the reactant, right? Catalyst is not a reactant. It is not reacting at all. What is the role of catalyst then? If it is not reacting, then what is the role of catalyst? So it is simply promoting the reaction to take place quickly. That is to attain the equilibrium quickly. Otherwise, it is not altering the position of the equilibrium. It is not changing any it is not changing its structure. It is not changing its concentration during the reaction. The concentration of a catalyst remains same throughout the reaction. Simply what it is doing, it is declining the activation energy barrier as per the Arrhenius equation. So we will discuss it in the coming lectures. Then the surface area. So the surface area, to increase the surface area at which the reactant molecule combine together and give product, that is provided by the catalyst itself. And once you provide a surface area for the reactant molecule, that will definitely increase the rate of the reaction. Finally, in case of the gaseous reactants, or if you have a gaseous product, then pressure also become very important. So in the case of gaseous reactant, you can consider the pressure of the gas as its concentration. So it is very important for the gaseous reactant. Otherwise, if you have solid or liquid reactant, so because they do not have any effect on their volume due to pressure, so the pressure become insignificant in case of solid and liquid reactants. So these are the important parameters which we consider when we are looking at the rate of the reaction. So, when we talk about kinetics, we are basically studying the rate at which chemical process occurs. So, whenever we talk about the rate is change in any parameter with respect to time. So, when we consider the kinetics, we are basically looking at the change in the concentration of reactant or product with respect to time. So, besides this information, that how the reaction is taking place, what is the speed of the reaction? Besides this information, we are also looking at the reaction mechanism in the kinetics. So, it is not about only the rate, the speed with which the reaction is taking place, but also it is about the reaction mechanism which we are concerned about in the chemical kinetics. So, it also tells us exactly how the reaction is taking place, how reaction occurs. So, what will be our point of concern in the chemical kinetics? So, first is the reaction rates, and in the reaction rate, we measure how the reaction is taking place. It is taking place at a fast pace or slowly. So, that is the reaction rate. Then, the second important term is rate loss. So we are concerned about how the rate depends on the amount of reactant. And when you establish that relationship between the concentration of reactant and the speed of the reaction, you call it a rate law. So we will discuss all these terms in detail. Now the third one is the integrated rate law. So integrated rate law is what? How to calculate the amount left or time to reach a given amount. That is the integrated rate law. Then we have half life in the chemical kinetics, and it is about the half completion of the reaction. That is how long it takes to react 50% of the reactant. So every reaction is having a half life, and it tells us how much time is required to complete the 50% of the reaction. Then we study about the Arrhenius equation, and Arrhenius equation is very much about the feasibility of the reaction, how much energy is to be given in order to convert the reactant into product. So that is about the activation energy and the activation energy barrier. So it is correlating this activation energy with the temperature, and with the help of Arrhenius equation, we see how the rate constant changes with temperature. Then last one is the mechanism. So we are concerned about the mechanism of a chemical reaction, and it links between the rate and the molecular scale processes. Now let us see what do we mean by the reaction rate. So here you can see three containers, and in the first container you can see that the time is also mentioned here. So here the time is 0 second, time is 20 second, and time is 40 second. So at the 0 second, when the reaction is yet to begin, you have 1 mole of A. A is what it is showing by the red spheres. Red molecules are molecules of A, which is our reactant, and 0 moles of B. So this is the onset of the reaction at the 0 second. The reaction is going to start now, and all you have in your container is the reactant. Now what happens when the similar container was checked after 20 seconds? It was found that now only 0.54 mole of A are left, and 0.46 mole of B are now formed. So B is what? B is the blue spheres which are representing the product B here. So after some time, what happens? Some of the reactant is converted into product. Now the same container was checked for after the 20 seconds of time. So it was seen that 0.30 mole of A are left now in the red colored spheres, and now zero point 0.7 mole of B has been formed. So progressively, what you can observe that the reactant is getting converted into product with the time, and therefore the rate of the reaction, it can be determined by monitoring the change in the concentration of either a reactant. So you can see the rate of the change in the concentration of the reactant, or you can also take the concentration of the product here as a function of time. So how do we measure the reaction rate? So let us see here how we derive the reaction rate here. So A is what? A in the square bracket, you consider it as the concentration of reactant rate. So whenever we are expressing the concentrations in the rate laws, we are also using the concentration term inside a square bracket. So this represents the active concentration of the a chemical substance. So whether we are taking the concentration of reactant or product, we always use this square bracket along with the concentration term. So this reaction rate is what now? So as we have seen that for a reaction in which the reactant A is getting converted into product B, there are two ways of measuring the rate of reaction. First is the speed at which the reactants are disappearing, that is decrease in the concentration of the reactant. And second one is the speed at which the products appear, that is the increase in the concentration of product with time. So these are the two methods by which we can actually measure the rate of the reaction. Now we can have a reversible reaction here, in which as the product accumulates, they can begin to turn back into the reactant. So this is about the establishment of the equilibrium, and when the rate of the forward reaction becomes equal to rate of the backward reaction, now the products are also getting converted into converting them back into the reactant. So now once the equilibrium is attained, now there will be no further change in the concentration of either reactant or the product. So early on, the rate will depend on only the amount of the reactant present. So we are measuring the rate of the reaction before the equilibrium is attained. At the equilibrium, both the reaction rates, the forward and the backward reaction rate, they are similar. So before the equilibrium is attained, we are measuring the rate of the reaction. So that basically depends upon the amount of the reactant, and we want to measure the reactant as soon as they are mixed. So now a general way of measuring the rate of the reaction is in the terms of change in the concentration per unit time. So what do you call the instantaneous rate at a given instance of time, right? Like in the previous slide, we have seen that at the 20-second time, at 40-second time. So that is what? That is the instantaneous rate. Suppose you are performing a reaction and you have stopped the reaction at 20 seconds and you take a aliquot of the reaction mixture and then you analyze the concentration of the reactant. So that is what? That is the instantaneous rate at that time interval only. So here, how you define it, the instantaneous rate, it is change in the concentration of A, that is represented by the delta. Delta is what? The concentration of the reactant A at time t minus concentration of reactant A at 0 time second, right? So that you determine as the instantaneous rate. So this is delta A upon delta t limits to dA upon dt. So it's for this can also be represented here by dA upon dt, and this is the instantaneous rate for the reaction. So now if you go for the unit of the reaction rate, so rate will have a unit of mole per second. So mole per second is what they are actually the unit of the rate which we can derive from this equation. And here molarity is what? It is moles per liter. So because the molarity is moles per liter, now what will be the unit of the rate? Moles upon liter second, or you can say moles liter is to power minus 1 and second is to power minus 1. That will be the rate unit of the reaction. So in the chemical kinetics, how do we represent the rate? We have seen that reaction rate is change in the concentration of a reactant or product with time, and it is represented by mole per second. So this is a common reaction, a general reaction. In example, A is getting converted into B, A is the reactant, B is the product. So how will you represent the rate of this chemical reaction? First expression can be written as this, minus delta A upon delta T. So here minus is written why? Because there is constant decrease in the concentration of reactant. So here the delta A represent the change in the concentration of A over time period delta T. The second expression to represent this reaction is delta B upon delta T, and here a positive sign is hidden because there is a constant increase in the concentration of product B. So delta B is what? It is change in the concentration of B over the time period delta T. So because the A is decreasing with the time, because it is what? It is reactant, it is getting converted into product. So the concentration of A is constantly decreasing, and therefore when we write the rate in terms of reactant, we always put a negative sign here. So now let us correlate the reaction rate and the stoichiometry of the reaction. So for a general reaction, how we can represent them? It is as AA plus BB converting into product CC plus DD. So here the small letters, small a, small b, small c, small d, they are representing what? They are representing a balanced chemical equation. And once your chemical reaction is balanced, now you can get the stoichiometry, and accordingly you can write down the rate of the reaction by incorporating these stoichiometric terms. So how do we incorporate them? First of all, let us see for the reactants A and B. First of all, take the reactant A. So how do you write the rate? You write it minus delta A upon delta T, right? So this we have seen in the previous slide. How do we write the rate in terms of the reactant concentration? This will be minus delta A upon delta T. Now you have to incorporate the stoichiometry, so you will write it like 1 upon A. This is for the reactant A. Similarly, for the reactant B, we will write down the stoichiometry as 1 upon B. And now, what is the rate here? So delta B upon delta T, that is a change in the concentration of reactant B with the delta T time. And because the concentration is decreasing, so we write down a minus sign here. Similarly, rate can also be expressed in terms of the products. So we are getting here product C and product D. So how do you represent the rate law? You are just incorporating the stoichiometry, that is 1 upon C and 1 upon D, and simply write down the expression for change in the concentration with respect to time. So that will be 1 upon C delta C upon delta T, and 1 upon D delta D upon delta T. So all these delta, they can be written as the D also, right? In the differential terms. So here the important observations are like for the reactant you will always put the minus sign before the rate, and for the product you always put a plus sign before the rate. Then another thing is, you whenever you are expressing the concentration term, you are also always using the square brackets for it. So now you can take a real example of a chemical reaction. So take this reaction, that is a decomposition of N2O5 in the gaseous form. So this is a gaseous reaction, and if you write down a complete balanced equation, this will be 2N2O5 is equal to 4NO2 plus O2. So that will be a completely balanced equation. So you are getting the stoichiometry from this equation also, right? So notice that for every 1 mole of oxygen that appears, 4 into as many moles of NO2 will also appear, and in the meantime, twice as many moles of the N2O5 will be disappearing as the moles of the O2 forming. So suppose if you consider that this is the X moles of the oxygen are forming, so you can take it 4X for the NO2 and 2X for the N2O5. So that is how we look at the reaction rates. But you cannot have the same reaction with three different rates, right? The rate are similar for the reaction. So now how will you write down the reaction rate? So we have seen in the previous slide how do we write the reaction rate. It will be minus 1 upon 2 delta N2O5 upon delta T. So that is including the stoichiometry of the reaction too, right? And because it is a reactant, we will put down a minus sign. Also you can write it like is equal to 1 upon 4 delta NO2 upon delta T, and also delta O2 upon delta T. So this is the reaction rate expression by incorporating a stoichiometry of the balanced equation. So rate of change in the concentration divided by respective stoichiometric coefficient. So this is the another example. We are this is in the aqueous phase, right? The previous example was in the gaseous phase, and this was example in the aqueous phase. So you have Br2 in the aqueous medium plus this is formic acid HCOOH aqueous medium. So after the reaction is complete, you get bromide ion in the aqueous medium plus 2 protons, and carbon dioxide is released in the gaseous form. So now how do you measure the progress in the reaction? Once the reaction is started at time is equal to 0 second. At 0 second, what do you have in your medium? You have 0.012 mole of the bromine only, right? Only bromine gas is there. But as you see that when the time is increasing, constantly the reaction is proceeding in the forward direction, and with time, each of the time interval, you see a progressive decrease in the concentration of Br2. So like it was at the 50 seconds, it was 0.0101, and at 400 second it becomes only 0.00296 m. So that is how we measure constantly the change in the concentration of the reactant. Now how do you write the rate law for it? So average rate would be minus delta Br2 upon delta T. That is how you will write the rate, right? So how do you find out the delta Br2? It will be the Br2 final minus Br2 initial upon T final minus T initial. So for each of the time interval, right? For each of the time interval, what you can do? You can get the instantaneous rate. So instantaneous rate would be the rate for specific instance in time. Like if I ask what would be the rate of the reaction at 200 seconds. So in that case, what do you do? You will take the initial concentration of bromine. You will minus it at from the concentration at 200 second, and in the denominator you will write down the 200 second, and the calculation, because you have put the negative sign here, right? So you will get a positive rate here. After the calculation, what do you get? You will get the reaction rate at 200 seconds. So that would be our instantaneous rate at a particular time instant. Now you can get the rate at different values of time. At different time interval, you can calculate the rates, instantaneous rates, and then you can plot it along with the concentration of the bromine. So this is a graph in which you have taken time on the x axis and concentration on the y axis. So now you can see that with the increase in the time, there is constant decrease in the concentration of bromine in the aqueous phase. So now at any point of time, if you take the slope of this tangent, you will get the rate at this point interval. So this is the rate at rate at 100 second. This is rate at 200 second, rate at 300 second. So once you plot a time versus concentration graph, you get a slope, and for the slope of that tangent, for a particular point, you can get an instantaneous rate here. So as you can see that the rate is proportional to the concentration of bromine. Greater is the concentration of bromine, greater is the rate of conversion of bromine into bromide. So once the concentration of bromine decreases, what happens now? The rate of the reaction also decreases. So this is one of the factors, like we have discussed. The concentration of reactant matters a lot while deciding the rate of the reaction. So once the rate of the once the concentration of a reactant has decreased after some time, the rate would also decrease. So you can write it like the rate is proportional to concentration of reactant, that is Br2. Now, if you remove the proportionality sign, what do you get? You will introduce a constant here. So rate would be equal to KBr2. And here what happens, you just transfer the K here and rate on this side of the equation. So you will get a rate constant, rate upon Br2. So this K is what? It is the rate constant for the reaction, and this will be a constant always. When the rate will be high, the Br2 will be also high. When the rate is low, Br2 is low. So for every reaction, you will get a constant value here. So how would you calculate the rate constant? Take any of the rate here and take any Br2 concentration corresponding to it, and that is how we calculate the rate constant. So that would be a constant always, and there is an alternative method to calculate the rate also, rate constant. So if you plot a graph between the rate of the reaction and the concentration of the reactant, you will get a straight line passing through the origin, and at any interval of time, when you get the slope of this, you will get the rate constant. So that is an alternative graphical method. Now let us see what are the factors that affect the reaction rate constant. Right, there are so many factors responsible which decide how the rate constant, what will be the value of the reaction rate constant. So see, first is the temperature, and in any of the chemical reaction, temperature is a very important factor. So these are the general observations that at higher temperature, once you increase the temperature, once you provide the heat energy to the reaction mixture, the reactant molecules, they have more kinetic energy. They move faster, they collide more often, and there are greater chances of the formation of the product. So this is a general observation that once you increase the rate of the once you increase the temperature, there is a increase in the rate of the reaction. So the simple reason behind it is with the increase in the temperature, there will be more kinetic energy into the system. Molecule will move faster, they will collide more often, and more will be the conversion into product. So there are two theories working behind this assumption. First is the collision theory, and the collision theory says this what? When the two chemicals react, for the reaction to take place, their molecule must collide. And that collision also should be in a particular orientation. Then only the product will be formed. And this collision should be accompanied by sufficient energy. So the collision theory has put a limitation. It is providing condition for the reaction to take place. First of all, the reactant molecule, they must collide together. They should collide with a certain minimum amount of energy, and also that collision must take place in a particular orientation. So when these three conditions are met, then only there will be the formation of product. So, according to this theory, when you increase the temperature, there are more collisions, there are more chances of a proper collision and a collision with a proper energy. So, more will be the formation of the product. So, you will see an increase in the reaction rate. Then the second theory, which is in support of this observation, is kinetic theory, and this says that when you increase the temperature, Now molecules are moving faster and now more reaction will take place. So your equilibrium will be shifted in the forward direction, right? So that is the thing with the temperature. Now, the second factor that affects the rate of the chemical reaction, it is concentration of reactant. So how the concentration of the reactant is changing. So at the onset of the reaction, when the reaction is about to start, you see that the concentration of the reactant is highest at that time. So for the initial time intervals, you see a very high reaction rate. But as when the reaction proceeds in the forward direction, constantly what happens, the more and more reactant is getting converted into product, and due to this what happens now, there is progressive decrease in the rate of the reaction. So as the concentration of the reactant is more, you will see the more reaction rate. But when the concentration of the reactant is less, now what happens? There is a decline in the rate of the reaction also. So again, you can explain it by using the collision and kinetic theory. And when the concentration of the reactant is less, now there are lesser chances that the reactant molecule will collide. Therefore, the rate of the reaction will be low. Then the third parameter is the catalyst. And as we have discussed that catalysts are the chemicals which simply speed up the reaction. And they do so by lowering the activation energy. And the activation energy is what? It is the minimum energy for the reactant molecule to perform the reaction. So once they have a higher activation energy, then it will take time for them to achieve that energy and then to convert themselves into the product. But once you are using the catalyst, in that case, the activation energy path is now lowered, and now what will happen? The reaction will take place with a much speed, with a quicker speed. Then the fourth factor is surface area of a solid reactant. So more area for the reactant to be in contact, more will be the surface area of the solid reactant, greater will be the rate of the reaction. So that is the reason whenever we are using the solid reactant, they are always used in a finely powdered form. And when they are used in the finely powdered form, that actually increase the surface area. So when you are performing the reaction of NaCl, you would prefer finely powdered NaCl over a crystal of the NaCl. You will not prefer a crystal, a solid crystal of the NaCl. Rather, you will take the finely powdered NaCl for the reaction to take place quickly and easily. The fifth factor is the pressure of the gaseous reactant. So, pressure of the gaseous reactant is actually about uh, it is again about the number of the collision those taking place inside the gaseous reactant. So once you increase the pressure, you are actually forcing the molecule to collide more and more, because you are decreasing the volume. So now within the same volume, molecules have to collide. So once you increase the pressure, basically you are increasing the number of collision, you are increasing the chances of the molecule to get collide with themselves in a particular orientation. So that also increase the rate of the chemical reaction. Now we have reaction rates mentioned here. So many examples are taken. This is the C4H9Cl, that is butyl chloride, in the aqueous medium reacting with the water and getting converted into butyl alcohol with the release of HCl in the aqueous medium. So this is simple hydrolysis of butyl chloride. With the time intervals, different time intervals, the concentration of butyl chloride were measured. So initial time at 0 second, we have 0.1 m of the butyl chloride, and the reaction is about to complete around the 800 seconds, when you have only 0.02 m of the butyl chloride left. So in this reaction, the concentration of the butyl chloride C4H9Cl, it was measured at different time intervals t. So once the measurements are done with the reaction concentration, now what happens? You can calculate the average rate of the reaction over each interval, and that is the change in the concentration divided by change in the time. So how do you calculate the average rate? You are just taking the initial concentration here, and the final concentration would be you are taking at the time interval of 50 seconds. So at the 50 second, this is the concentration of butyl chloride 0.0905. So this is the change in the concentration in 50 second, and by this you are calculating the average rate. Now, these are the different average rate for all the time intervals which are calculated here. So, for the 50 second, this is the value, then 100 second, 150 second, 200 second. Now, you can note down that there is a constant decrease in the average rate as you observe the reaction is proceeding. The rate is constantly decreasing. Now, the simple reason is because as the reaction is going forward, more and more reactant is getting converted into product. Now, the reactant molecules are less and therefore fewer collisions will take place between the reactant molecule. So, there are lesser chances of the reactant to get converted into product, and therefore a progressive decrease in the reaction rate is observed. So this is a plot of concentration versus time for this reaction, and it yields a curve like this. So this is the concentration, this is the time, and once you start plotting it, you can see a clear change in the concentration of the reactant with time, and soon it becomes constant after some time. So that shows the attainment of the equilibrium. Now, once you plot a graph like this, the slope of the line tangent to the curve at any point is what? It is the instantaneous rate at that time. So it is dA upon dt represented by this expression. Then the reaction, it slows down with the time because the concentration of the reactant is getting lesser and lesser. So with the increase in the time interval, you can see that there is decrease in the reaction rate. So initially it was very high. You can see a steep line, but slowly what happens, gradually the line takes a linear shape. Now, if you see the stoichiometry, so in this reaction, the ratio of butyl chloride to butyl alcohol is 1:1. So therefore, you can say that the rate of the disappearance of butyl chloride is similar to the rate of the appearance of butyl alcohol. So when you write down the rate expression, you can write it like this. The rate of the disappearance